sized it too far in. Let me just find the outside end. I can't find the outside end. I feel like a little fairy in it. I think it's fine. Hello everyone. If you watch my videos, you normally know that I crochet a lot of things freehand. If you don't know what freehanding means, that means that I'm making things without a pattern. My eyes just kind of like... And that's really fun for me, but I'm sure that it can be frustrating. Here and there, I do make my own free written patterns and I just post it on my blog. This time I wanted to take you guys with me to show you the process behind me writing patterns, how I translate freehand and testing the same pattern into written patterns. I'm making these covers. These are for any of your containers. So this is a pencil case. Over there on my bookshelf, I have a little box. And I also just made a new version. This is just following the same pattern but changing the colors. And it looks like a Neapolitan ice cream. I'm not only making my own patterns, but in this video I'm also going to be testing someone else's pattern. This is my first time ever pattern testing. Finally, some real crochet this time. So grab your hooks, let's crochet together. So what I'm doing is I'm basically just making a square the same size as my holder. So in this case, this is a square, but you can totally use it for a circle. And I honestly think that it might be easier if your holder was a circle. When you make a square, right, you have your parts that are in stitches, but then you have two sides that are kind of like weird. So what I did was I just single crocheted along those weird sides. In the sides that I already have the single crochet stitches, I did back loop only. So that way it kind of curves in so I can work upwards. So it's single crochet, then back loop only, then single crochet, then back loop only. Right now I'm doing a stitch that looks like knit. It's called the waistcoat stitch. Videos on it, but instead of crocheting into the V, let me flip my camera around. So instead of crocheting into this top V over here, we're going to insert into the two posts right here, which is a very subtle difference. So in between the V of the single crochet, so not the one at the top but in the middle, and then we're going to single crochet like that. So again, not here, but then slightly lower right here in this V. So a little underneath that, we're going to make a single crochet like this. So again, not up here but down here in this V. And then I'm just gonna keep going all the way around. I don't know if you can tell, but as we're building up, it's kind of like a V upon a V, and it's gonna keep going and it's gonna look more like knit. Oh, the tip is you wanna keep your tension loose, especially when you make that single crochet, because it makes it easier in the next row to add the waistcoat stitch. The smaller your single crochet is, it's going to be harder to poke your needle through. What I like to do is when I yarn over and pull my yarn out, I make that second, you see, like I make the second yarn a little longer. If you crochet, you know this feeling. Light purple, dark neutral, and that. I decided to actually learn why some colors work better than others with Skillshare, who is the sponsor of this video. Here I'm taking a color analysis course by Astrid Factor, and it honestly surprised me with how detailed it is, explaining the history behind color seasons, how undertones work, and even how fabric material and textures can change how a color reads. I learned that naturally I'm in autumn. Do you guys remember when butter yellow was a trend? I was so tempted to get a cardigan for myself, but it always felt too bright. Notice how the mustard yellow just makes my skin like... We spend hours making wearables, so understanding color theory helps make sure that the time actually pays off. Skillshare has so many classes taught by world-class creatives, and the platform is built to help you bring more creativity into your everyday life. And since it's the holiday season, it makes a really good gift. On top of that, the first 500 people to use my link or the QR code will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Get started today. Right now, I'm watching this guy complete every spy mission in Club Penguin. And I love this video. I literally love this video because I've played every Club Penguin spy mission. Like, I wasn't on Club Penguin that much, but when I was a spy. Love me some good espionage. Yeah, so his commentaries are really fun. He just kind of recaps what he did, and it's really funny. It's invoking a lot of nostalgia right now. So I left maybe a row's worth of stitches free so that I could add this fuzzy yarn. The only problem is I don't know where the end is. I tried finding the inside end and then I was like, okay, let me just find the outside end. I can't find the outside end. Okay, you know what? I found a little factory knot here, so I'm just gonna cut it. And now I just found the end, guys. I found it. How did I do that? This is my first time using this type of yarn. I've seen people use it when they made crochet labubus, and they always talked about how it was such a nightmare. But I think because I'm not really working into the yarn itself, I'm going on top of it, so these stitches I can see really easily. It's not that bad. I love this texture though. It reminds me of Uggs. Oh my gosh. This shouldn't spark this much joy, if I'm being so honest. Why does it look so cute? It just looks like an Ugg. I need to weave in the end. I was thinking about what would happen if I kind of made a second layer to this, like I added trim this way, so down here, and on the sides like this. But I think simplicity is best, and I don't want to give myself a migraine. In theory, if it's a square and I'm chaining every time I round the corner, it should be vertically going up like this. Mine's kind of spiraling and I don't know why. Maybe. Thing is though, I kind of like the spiral. I personally don't mind it. This is insane copium, huh? Good morning everyone, it's a new day and I'm actually trying to make a second version of this. I'm trying to figure out where the spiraling came from, like if I did something wrong around the corners or something like that. The waistcoat stitch that I'm using works up in rounds, so I'm trying to figure out the geometry of it. Using a terrible example to refine it. I want to basically cover one of my baskets right here. I just don't like this pink anymore. I made the base for it already. This is just single crochets. And right now I'm lifting it up right here. So on the sides, I'm just doing single crochets, and in the corner, I'm putting 2 single crochets instead. And then on the longer sides, I'm back loop stitching. So kind of same process, and we'll see how that looks. I don't know how tall the box is, but this looks about right, I think. So I think I'm just gonna stop here. Anyways, in a couple of minutes I have to go tutor another student. For the other one, I made the base square just like slightly smaller than the base, because usually when you like build up from the base, some of it kind of curves, like it becomes the base, if that makes sense. So whatever your base is, once you build up the sides, the base will actually be a little bit larger, like very slightly. And so you'll see in things like this box, there's just like a little bit of a gap, which I accounted for because what I'm gonna do is pinch the sides, and I'm gonna single crochet the fur along the 4 corners. I'm starting from the bottom, and then I'm gonna work my way up and just leave the tail out, because when I go around the top border like this, I'm just going to work it in. That's what I'm gonna do. This is kind of what it looks like on the inside. Again, I never said it once. It's not perfect, but because it's the fuzzy yarn, that's the cool thing about this, is that it fixes all of your mistakes. At this point, the basket should fit really snugly inside, because I took a little bit off of the sides to seam it together, or to single stitch it together, and perfect. Now I'm just gonna go through the top and then see how it looks like. And remember, as I'm working, I'm gonna weave in the ends into the top trim. Hello everyone, so now it's time for me to start writing down the pattern. This pattern is pretty simple. The overall construction is really simple, which is why I didn't write it as I was working in it. But that might have been a mistake, because I'm just doing more work for myself. But a little bit of recap. This was the first version. Notice how every corner there's a little bit of a slanted spiraling, because I did a chain space in the corners. I think it's because I thought that in a box I would need to make the corners stretch out more, but since acrylic is pretty stretchy already, it didn't really work like that. And then here is version 2. Essentially what I did is I'm working up in rounds, and in one of the corners, so whichever one it is, but in one of the corners I just did a slip stitch, chain 1, and then I started a new row. I will say that it does mean that one of your corners looks a little different, but it's a give or take. I was thinking about what if I slip stitch chain 1 and then turn my work, so I'm working like this and then like that. That would remove a little bit of the slanting that we saw in the version 2. It's really slight, so it's not that noticeable, but it does slant a little bit. But I tried doing that, and waistcoat stitching, you can't really do it backwards. The stitches look different. It's a give or a take, and you have to just choose the better battle. Here, let me just show you what I've worked on so far. I need to replace the thumbnail for this, but that should be pretty easy. I do a little bit of an introduction, and then the materials that I used, and I also link the specific yarn that I used in case people want to know. Acrylic yarn medium weight 4 can vary a lot. A little bit of abbreviations. Then I go to the patterns, and I name different sections of them. So right now we're working on the bottom base, which is like, if this was the container, your bottom base would be down here, and then we go up like that. I also give a little bit of a note. If you want to do different versions, there's differences. I write down what I'm thinking, and then I'm also working on this on the side just in case I miss any details. This version, I'm just having fun with it. I'm just doing color changing. This is just a way for me to keep sane as I'm working on this pattern. But that is how I work on patterns. Alright guys, I just finished up making the pattern. It's all written, I just need to take photos, make a thumbnail, but most importantly, I don't really know what to call this. I've been just calling it fuzzy container cover. But I feel like there's a better term. So, I just made some short form content and I'm gonna post it on TikTok and Instagram. And then maybe I'll put a poll on Instagram to see what you guys think. To be honest, it's not that big of a deal, but I think it would be fun to do. So I will see you guys over on my other socials. There's more. There's a bigger slide up there. There's a bigger slide up there? Yeah. Oh my gosh. This last project is something that I'm so excited to share with you because I'll actually be pattern testing another creator's pattern. I actually found her through my TikTok For You page and she was looking for some testers and I was like, sign me up, sign me up. This is her Versatop. I have her pattern PDF on my computer. This is the first time I'm actually ever pattern testing and for obvious reasons I'm not going to go too in detailed about what I'm doing because I don't want to give her pattern away, but I want to document some things that I'm learning as I'm pattern testing and just following another person's style of teaching. And I also want to share that she saw a couple more of my TikTok videos and now we follow each other on TikTok and we're mutuals, but I did reach out to her and I asked her if this was okay. She said yes, we like this now. No, we're not. Just putting it out there. I made sure to confirm if that was okay. Her pattern is split up into different sections of the top, so I've been working on the corset for a little while now. I also worked on a majority of it in the road trip. This is the progress. I did it before, but it turned out too short, so I'm redoing it again. And ta-da! This is what I got. It's pretty stretchy and it's supposed to go around your waist. I do want to note though, I made a mistake. You can kind of see where this bottom end right here, it's a little jagged because I forgot a stitch and then I realized it too far in and so I just added a stitch, but I think it's fine. I'm also watching K-dramas again. I got a comment asking me to start putting the shows back because I used to do that a lot in my other videos.
누차 말씀드렸지 않습니까? 저는 행복하다고. 진짜 저희 정말 잘 살고.
Now I'm working up the bust section. So this is the corset and then I'm working upwards. I was a little bit confused on where to exactly put my single crochets, but luckily she did include a tutorial kind of for all of the techniques in the pattern and also left timestamps on some of the sections. So I was just able to read the instructions, understand like what theoretically I should be doing, and then when I'm watching the tutorial, I'm kind of putting the pieces together. I really like that. From the pattern, I think the back is a lace strap. I've never done a lace strap before. A lace back? Lace back. So I'm excited for that, but we're not there yet. We still have the entire top to do. Through the top, yarn over, pull through one. Nice. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Okay. Okay, so I have to keep doing this stitch.
기적이 없는 게 내 탓이니? 왜 성질도 안 가?
Hello everyone, I am on my way to my friend's house right now. We're gonna go get dinner And we're also gonna take a dance class that I'm so excited for because I haven't taken a dance class in a really long time. I also just did my nails. They're not perfect. I'm not sure if I want to keep them simple like this or if I want to add a little bit of design later, but we'll see.
Yes. Get up from the microwave, okay, distraction. Hey guys, this is Christine. I'm gonna try my banana matcha latte.
How is it?
I wish I had 0.5. I don't have 0.5. My phone's broken. Just look at this. I'm your sunflower. For the long run, for the marathon, I'll keep changing.
Alright, so I just finished the bust section right here, and then now it's kind of gonna go in a tilted, like a slanted motion right here, kind of like Silver Mist. So the pattern is a lace back. You kind of have to work in a gap like this, so then when you put it on, it laces up. When I put it on the first time, I think because the stitches are very stretchy, I just left a gap for how long I thought that the lace back was gonna go, if that makes sense. So then when I put it on, the gap was huge because everything stretched. I don't think my bust is that big. Like, it doesn't really need to be cinched up too much. So I ended up having to frog the entire thing, and I made my gap like just like an inch, because when I actually wear it, the gap stretches out to be like 3 inches. Noted. But the pattern is really easy to work up. Right now, I'm going to go tutor and then I'll work on. When I first started crocheting, people would always make fun of how they always lose their stitch markers, and I was like, what? That's so weird. I get it now. Where do they go? Why do I only have one? And why am I using a bobby pin? We're going to taper the top this, or is it this way? Since I'm right hand dominant, I'll be leaning towards my right side. If I have it lean to the right, it might feel more secure. But we're gonna do some math, which is great. Okay. Here, huh? And then rows per 10 centimeters is, oh, I think I did all the calculations. My gauge is the exact same numbers. I don't know if I'm really providing anything helpful if my gauge is the same number. Size is different though.
Has become a multi-billion-dollar empire to Ariel's many redesigns to the main characters these young girls are already projecting.
Hi, it's the next day and I finished the main part of the top. So it tapers, and then there's a little scarf situation that I could wrap around. I will put it on and show you. Ta-da! I didn't realize that it kind of matched exactly with my pajama shorts. It's a little rough around the edges because I need to go and add the trim. I have to add buttons in here, crossed over like this, or as a mini scarf. I'm moving on to the final touches. For the detailing, I got this white cotton yarn, mercerized. It's a little off-white slash almost like yellowy. It's a very warm tone, and I think it would pair really well. Anyways, the pattern says that she recommends doing the final touches and the trim parts in a smaller hook. So up until now, I've been using a 3.5 millimeter hook. I'm just gonna follow what she personally used, which is a 2.5 millimeter hook. So I'm gonna go one whole size smaller. I'm attaching the lace back in the front and then shimmy it around. Or let's say if you have a bigger bust and you can't just like stretch it out then I think buttons might be the best way. I'm not really sure if the lace back is the most recommended option, but here's how it looks like in the back. Kind of looks like a ballet flat. You kind of just place them in the gaps of your stitches over here. Okay, Miss Congeniality. That's so cute. Wrapping it around once so it becomes a choker. It might be a little harder to put the buttons in between the stitches if your button is too big. So I would recommend getting smaller buttons. Kind of think about the buttons that you get in like mending kits, the really small ones. I would get those. I think this way is my favorite because it gives me more support. It feels like a halter top with a cutout, like it gives that illusion. And of course, if you're going to have an outfit that's a turtleneck or it's more up here, balance that out with a ponytail or a bun. She asked me to send pictures. Optimally, you know, I would like to have pictures in broad daylight, but I just don't think I have time. So I'm just gonna take the best pictures that I can. I really love this. Not really sure what pants would go well with this. A mini white skirt would go really well with this, but that's not the vibe that I'm going for. I want more cool girl, walking on a sidewalk. Maybe some cargo sweats. I think this could work. I think I'll do this one. Let's try to take some pictures. Maybe I should change my earrings. Just take the photos. I'm gonna take some photos by this closet door so that maybe it'll give it a clean background. Now that I'm done testing the top, it's time for me to give feedback. Overall, I love this top. Like, you guys saw it. It's beautiful. I feel like a little fairy in it, you know? Usually for testers, there's a set period or a deadline so that the pattern maker could have some photos and some feedback. When you update her that you finish, I'm pretty sure she sends a form to gather feedback. But for me, I reached out to her because I found a little bit of a mathematical calculation error. If you guys didn't know, well, I don't think I told you guys, so you wouldn't know. I graduated with a math degree. Yay! That doesn't mean that I'm good at math. I want to make that very clear. I'm not like, yeah. The thing with studying math at a university is that you start to understand the importance of making sure the math applies in all cases. After you do your calculations, you're supposed to end up with a number of decreases to taper at the top. I got a number that I shouldn't have. I sent her an email about that and I gave her kind of like my solution for that. So I gave her a formula to use instead. That way it could account for people who have different proportions. The calculations would be more generalized, like a range, instead of just plugging in certain numbers, because not all of the numbers work. Not to say that the pattern already wasn't size inclusive. It is size inclusive and it's very made to measure, but it didn't account for body proportions, which is really hard to do mathematically. So was it like TMI? Maybe? But I just thought that if she wanted to use it, she can, but she was so open to it. Overall, it was such a good learning experience because I don't normally make a lot of wearables. A lot of the wearables that I've made before are very rectangular. Like for a sweater, it's very like front panel, back panel, sleeves, right? Or with a raglan sweater, you just work down and it works like a rectangle. It was really cool doing a top that had a lot of curves. It divided the top up so that it accentuates your curves. So that was really nice and honestly really fun. For my final thoughts, If you are considering this pattern, the pattern classifies it as intermediate but has beginner-friendly explanations. I would agree with this. I wouldn't say that it is beginner-friendly unless you have a bit of a math background or you're really good at conceptualizing words in your head. And what I mean by that is there are some people who are really good at reading explanations and visualizing them in their head. The pattern like really explains the steps with words, and even if you haven't done anything like this before, as a beginner, if you're really good at visualizing instructions, you could work around it. For my younger crocheters, you do need to know math. You need to know unit rates and conversions. Like if you want to convert feet into inches, you multiply it by 12 because that's the unit rate. 1 foot is 12 inches. Sizing your gauges based on a small number of stitches that you did and how big it is, can you determine how many more stitches you need to do? That's where the concept of unit rates come in. Hopefully that makes sense. I will link her social media handles below, her TikTok and her Instagram, because I know that the pattern is coming out pretty soon. I think for the most accurate updates, I would follow her. Nora, if you're watching, thank you for letting me test your pattern. I hope you approve of this part of the video. And that's all for this video. I do want to make a note though, that in crochet, we know that it takes a really long time, and that's just from following patterns. And it takes just as much time to make those patterns and even more time to perfect them. So I think it's really cool that we have a community to rely on each other for pattern testing, for giving feedback, and also being really acceptive to adapting. All that to say, if you ever encounter a mistake in my crochet pattern or something is a little bit unclear, please give me a little bit of grace. Thank you again for watching, and thank you for 15K, guys. What?